Hi guys. Um, Today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that I believe is so important. I actually made an Instagram story about this, but I think it's so important and so powerful that I want to make sure it is seen beyond just the 24 hours that it airs on Instagram stories. So, anyways, this past weekend, I was at an event called the Summit of Greatness, and that's based off Lewis Howes' podcast, The School of Greatness, but the live event where thousands of people from all over the world traveled to come to Columbus, Ohio. And the first year, this is my second year in a row going, and the first year I went, it was really powerful to the point where it gave me full permission to fully be myself, because in the past, I felt like, I held certain parts of myself back because I'm naturally a pretty deep person. I'm definitely an old soul. There's no doubt about it. I love music from way back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's my jam. And, and for the longest time, because I've had judgmental family members, and I know a lot of people from my past, from elementary school, middle school, and high school, follow me on social media, I held those parts back because I was afraid I was going to be judged. And then when I went to the event, after seeing all these speakers talk, I don't even remember exactly who it was. Jay Shetty was definitely there, so he probably had a powerful effect. But it gave me full permission to fully be who I was. And once I finally accepted that and owned that, the beautiful part was that I just started attracting the most amazing people into my life, and so many like-minded people into my life. And this time around, I knew there were going to be a lot of amazing speakers. And I been following a lot of the people that were already speaking. And there were a few people that I knew of, but I hadn't watched their content as much, so I wasn't as aware of what they had. And the one big takeaway that I actually had was that I still had a lot of inner work to do. And I've done so much healing in my life because I've gone through my parents went through a traumatic, painful divorce, and I was a victim on the sidelines of that who just had to watch that unfold, and I did so much healing work with that. And when I was at this event, it made me realize that there was so much healing work to do with other parts of my life that I thought I addressed, but apparently I didn't fully address because they really start to come up again. And one of those big things was that I am enough, and you are enough too. And it's so easy to look back at our past and realize that, and see that there were certain times, at least in my past, looking back, looked back at certain times when I was rejected by friends or by different people who just didn't know me or get me. And when we were younger, it's really hard to understand why and to process why. Even when we're older, this stuff still sucks when we're rejected, or people just don't see the light in us that we know that we have deep inside. And I realized, I spent the past 2 days just reflecting and realizing when was that first time, or the first major feeling I had when I didn't feel like I was enough. I ended up being back early in it's definitely times in middle school, but there was one particular time in high school when I was at a friend's birthday party when I really felt rejected and not important. And I remember the next day when I was watching one of Marissa Peer's videos, she was one of the speakers, and she really spoke about this a lot, and it really was eye-opening in so many levels to just myself and people I know, and just noticing why certain people are the way they are, and how that affects us and how we take that in within. And it made me realize there were certain times when I didn't feel like I was enough with certain people. Even recently, there were times I felt rejected, and when we don't heal these things, we allow them to trigger within us and become things that allow us to doubt ourselves and what we're capable and who we truly are. And I just want to come here to tell you that, you know what? You're enough. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're so special. You matter, and there's a reason that you're here, right now, here on planet Earth. You have a reason and a purpose in life. And your purpose today may be different from your purpose tomorrow, but there's a reason that you're here. And I believe one of the big things we have to do and focus on is figure out how we could heal ourselves. Because when you take time to heal yourself, then you could help heal the world and heal others. But you have to first start within. Because if there's something triggering you inside, if there's a part of you that's not healed inside, it's going to keep resurfacing. And that's what I discovered, that there's certain parts that were unhealed in me that I weren't even aware that were there until someone brought it up. And it was kind of crazy because hundreds of people in the room were like feeling like this crazy energy, like, oh my God, what's going on right now? But some of these speakers mentioned something, Marissa Peer and Stephen Speak specifically, that brought up all these feelings from our past and realizing when we felt like we weren't enough, that we weren't good enough. And it's crazy because I think that's, Marissa Peer said, that's the biggest struggle humanity has. It's the biggest disease in humanity. Even you look at people who are celebrities, who have everything you could possibly imagine in terms of money, in terms of fame, in terms of all the material goods, in terms of all the connections, and they still feel like they're not enough. And that's why so many of them are depressed and are doing drugs and alcohol and all the crazy things, is because they're still trying to cover up and heal that feeling that they're not enough. And I want to tell you that you are. I'm enough, you're enough, you're perfect just as you are in this moment today. You are. And once you own that, then everything else will work out. Then you can start healing yourself and realizing, like, you know what? Anyone who didn't make you feel like you were enough, or rejected you, or made you feel insecure, you know what? They have their own shit. And they're either revealing their insecurities or they're putting their own shit on you. Or you know what? Some things in life are just not meant to be. It's that simple, and it's really painful in the moment. And I know it because I've been there many times. But some things, I believe, and who is also one of the speakers, and I've been following him for a while, he says, everything is happening for us, not to us. And I believe that's so true, because if I hadn't gone through all those painful experiences in my life, and if I didn't deal with my parents' divorce, if I didn't go through all the shit that, like, we just managed to deal with as being humans on this planet, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I know that's a fact. And so I do believe, even though some things are so painful, they are happening for us. And I think the key is just to recognize, what are those things? What are those things that way back then that hurt that child inside of you? And what part does that need to be healed? And sometimes you need to be the parent that your parents couldn't be for you, whether because they didn't know about it or they just didn't have the capacity to be that person. They need to help you heal the situation that you're going through, or were going through back then. And so, anyways, I think it's just important to acknowledge those moments in the past and honor them. And I realize, like, looking back, some of the moments from my past, I completely forgot about them because I think I probably suppressed them or didn't want to remember them. And then when I remember I was watching a video the day I got back because I was just really tired and I just really needed to rest. And someone she mentioned something of a story of something from their past, and a memory came up that I totally forgot about this was probably back in like 2007 or 2008, which is crazy. It was like 12 years ago. But a memory flashback from then that I totally forgot about, of that when I really felt rejected and when I felt like I wasn't enough. And it made me realize, like, that was one of the big stems that was bringing me all the way to today, when I had moments where I was having those same exact feelings, but I wasn't able to put two and two together before. And I think so many of us have those moments, and we either just suppress them or we forget about them because they were so painful, and we don't want to remember them. But I think the part of bringing them to the surface, even though it's hard, is that we could release them and forgive the people that caused those things onto us. And that doesn't mean you have to call them or see them in person and forgive them like that. Like, you could just forgive them just from yourself and just through your heart, just by being by yourself and releasing that. So you're no longer carrying that stress or that burden in you or that pain. And realizing that, you know what, they were going through whatever they were going through. And if that's why they were making you feel rejected, or they were dealing with their own stuff and they put that on you. But you know what? That's the past. This is the present. I'm going to let that go, because when you let that go, then you can move on and become a greater, stronger person today. I really want to share that, because I think it's so important to remember that you are enough. You are really special. You're really important. You really matter. And there's a reason that we're here. I think there's a reason that we're all here. And I think the key to life is discovering what that is. And I think you do that. This is my belief. I think you do that by looking at what you're good at and really looking within. So many of the answers in life are really deep inside. We're always seeking outside, but if you actually sit down and be alone and meditate or journal or do yoga, or I do like all the above, run, do all the things to take care of yourself and your body and your mental, physical, and spiritual health, you have all the answers. You have so many answers. And that doesn't mean you don't ask for help or you don't ask for other people's opinions at certain moments, because there's certain times people are going to, of course, bring things out in you that you never would have seen on your own. And I've had that experience multiple times. But I think more often than not, we have all the answers within. We really do. And when we look within and realize what we really want inside, what we want to create in life, what our dreams are, and focus on how we could bring them into the world, then you start finding out what your purpose is in life. And I think one thing to remember is that I think our purpose is constantly evolving. So your purpose today might be very different from your purpose tomorrow, or a year from now, or 10 years from now. And that's okay. But your job is to live in the moment today and figure out, how can I be of service to the world? How can I make this world a better place? How can I be happy so I could raise the vibration of this world and the consciousness of this planet? So, yeah. I hope you're having a beautiful day. You're enough. You're amazing. You're beautiful. And I'll be back soon.